Good morning, everyone. We're going to get started with the invocation and pledge of allegiance. At this time, Evelyn, could you come? Elvin Hamilton is the pastor at Quail United Methodist Church. He's located at 5,000, his church is located at 5,000 North Everest Street. Please come up, sir. Please stand.
Let us pray together. 2 Chronicles 7:14 says, "If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and forgive their sin and heal their land." Lord, we thank you for claiming us. Unify us, Lord, as a city. Lord, we're called by you to lead. Therefore, Lord, we humble ourselves before your mighty power. Your word says that whoever exalts themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. Lord, we indeed need you. Lord, call this community of Oklahoma City to prayer. Our desire is to seek you. We need your wisdom. You promise it if we ask for it. Lord, we turn from our way to pursue your way for us. Lord, we know that when we impact heaven through our prayers, you will hear us. You'll manifest the perfection of heaven right here on earth in the city of Oklahoma City. Forgive us when we turn from your will to do our own will. Lord, we invite you to heal our land of Oklahoma City. Lord, we ask your blessings upon Mayor Holt, the council members, staff, and their families. Lord, bless Oklahoma City. Lord, bless our country and the elections taking place today. Lord, we pray for peaceful transitions of leadership. Lord, give us unity and love. For it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Next, we have the Pledge of Allegiance by Mackenzie Gibson. She's representing Girl Scouts Troop 156. Hello, Mackenzie.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, a nation under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Good job. At this time, I'll call the meeting to order. This is the City Council meeting for November 5th, 2024. We have an agenda today beginning with item 3, which is from the Office of the Mayor. I'm told there are no items, so we'll proceed to agenda item number 4, which is items from council. And specifically, we're going to look at item 4A, which is a resolution authorizing the Municipal Counselor's Office to initiate an action in the District Court of Oklahoma County. And I think Nikki's not here yet, so Matt, can I kind of turn this over to you to kind of tell us where we're at with this?
Yeah, certainly. So this item would allow our office to file an action at the district court level to address some concerns that have been brought to our attention from residents and neighboring property owners near 1240 North Sooner Road. It's being operated as Charlie's Firewood. That property was rezoned not terribly long ago, a couple years back, and the SPUD has certain special conditions. One is that it is screened, and another is that the use be limited to firewood purposes, both the sale and manufacturing, essentially, of firewood. The complaints that we've received indicate that the property is not being used consistent with those conditions. There have been, we understand, 4 citations issued by code enforcement, and there has not been the relief. Councilwoman Nice has requested this item to allow us to pursue a district court action to to seek to permanently prohibit the unlawful use of the property. So that is the item.
Yeah, a couple of things that I've heard about it. There are some safety concerns and safety issues that have been raised in complaints by neighbors in and around the property, correct?
Some safety issues as in from a...
From the standpoint of there is lumber there, it's not any way fenced off. There's an issue of vermin, mice, et cetera, that have brought safety concerns to some of the citizens.
There's definitely numerous concerns listed. I think most of those were aesthetically and from the actual use, but there may have been some safety components, especially from, that might result from junk and...
Amy, do we have anybody here to speak on this matter today?
No, we don't.
Do any of the council have any questions about this that they'd like to ask Matt about? If not, a motion to adopt the resolution would be appropriate at this time. The item has been moved and seconded. Please cast your vote. I can't do it.
Just vote aye.
Okay. We're going to do a roll call vote.
Well,
Bradley,
no,
can
I think
you come up? The marvels of modern technology.
You know, we've come so far since the caveman days.
I don't know. I mean, I really missed the red light thing.
Nobody showed up. But there's a motion and second.
Okay, we'll go ahead and call roll. Ward 1,
Aye.
Just for Nikki's sake, we're on item 4A, and no one has showed up, and there's been a motion and second made to vote on this.
Is this my resolution?
Yes, and Matt explained it to the council. Is that okay? Would you?
I don't need to say anything else.
Okay.
Ward 2,
Okay, everybody vote, please.
Yes.
The motion passes. That's the only thing we have with regards to an item from council, so we'll move on to item 5, which is the city manager's report. Aubrey?
Mr. Vice Mayor, if I could ask, please, that during the city manager reports, if we could get an update on our efforts in the tornado damage areas, I would really appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Would you like to do that right now? Is my mic working? Is it working now? Okay, we're going to switch mics. Is it working now? Very good. I have also asked if we could get maybe Captain Aldridge or Chief Basie to come in the room and give us a few updates, but I think our recovery efforts are going well. Now that's working right, getting feedback. Right now, what city staff is working on is trying to get some, let me switch. Let me turn this one off. Is this working? Good.
Yep.
Okay. City staff is wanting to do some more outreach, get some resident outreach centers popped up in the area. We've been working on getting city staff to help coordinate some efforts to go out into the 2 neighborhood areas and do some pop-up outreach centers at those locations to try to guide people through how to handle debris removal, permits they might need for demolition or reconstruction of their properties, animal welfare issues they might have, to get social services, OG&E, and those different types of facilities out. This was something that, for large events before, we've done these types of resource centers in the past, just to help residents have one place to go and ask all of these questions. So we have been doing assessments of properties, worked through over 100 property assessments, just trying to assist with anything that residents might need to get those streets clear, the utilities back up, and the power lines up off the streets. Chief Basie, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you might want to update about?
I think you were just sent some numbers with the updated damage to structures. I don't think any of the numbers on injuries have changed too much from the first day. I know we've been able to pull back from some of the areas and open up some of the areas. We have power restored to a lot of the residents, which is a big plus. We're still in some areas until they become a little more stable. Debris is cleared, power is restored, but recovery efforts are going really well.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you.
Okay. All right, and our finance director is going to give us an update on our tax collections.
Yes, good morning. First, I'd like to talk about our hotel motel tax in your report. It's motel taxes. We do this on a quarterly basis, so it's July through September. Through that time, we unfortunately taxes are down $290,000 or 5.7% over the prior year. We compare that to our projections, we're about 4.5% below that. Typically, our central and northwest hotels are the ones that drive our growth, and those were relatively flat during that period. When we look at the categories of hotels, we're doing well on the higher end hotels, but it's the budget and the economy hotels that are really struggling right now. And as they've seen significant declines, not only in occupancy, but also in room rates. So on that. Then on the sales and use tax side for the month of October, sales tax is 2.2% below the prior year and 3.3% below projections. The retail portion of our sales tax, which is about 46% of our sales tax check that we get every month, is down for the fourth consecutive month, and it was down 1.5% for the month. We look at our sales tax, the retail, and break it out into 7 different categories, or 12 different categories, and 7 of those 12 are down, and that's what's driving it. Building materials, for example, is down 12.2%. Food stores is up 4.7%. We've got a streak of 12 months of positive growth there, so that's still, and restaurants are actually up 3.9%. So we do like to eat here in Oklahoma. We still like to do that. But utilities, though, continue to have a negative impact on our sales tax. You can call it milder weather, lower fuel costs too, but that is down. It's been down for 10 consecutive months, and utilities makes up about 8 or 9% of our sales tax check. And when you look at something like that being down that amount, that knocks about a point off over your overall growth rate. So use tax for the month is 9.7% below the prior year and 15.8% below projections. The retail portion of that, which is about 51%, was down for the first time with a 3.4% decline after steady growth over a significant amount of time. And utilities are also down on the use tax side. To date, through October, sales tax is $3.7 million below projection, and use tax is 1.7, so that's a $5.4 million that we're below budget through October. These numbers are in line with Dr. Evans' forecast, as he always said that our first half of our fiscal year was going to see a decline, and then the second half of the year will be where we'll start growing again. So with that, our Treasury staff was continually working with our the Oklahoma Tax Commission, monitoring things and digging in, looking for anomalies to see where there are things where people are not remitting or stuff like that. So they're doing a really good job in that. So with that, I'll try to answer any questions. All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. This is an informational material from the city manager's report, so we do not need a motion or vote. I'll move to items 6A and B, which is the journal council proceedings, which we can take with one vote. May I have a motion, please? Please cast your vote. It passes. Next is item 7, which is the request for uncontested continuances. I'll turn that over to Aubrey. Could you help me with that, please?
Sure, we have several items. 2 items on the consent docket. Item 9AB is going to be deferred until November 19th. Item 9AO is going to be stricken. We have 2 other items on item 11 that will be deferred to November 19th. Item 11E, which is PUD 2026, and item 11I, which is also deferred to November 19th, which is SPUD 1667. We also have several items on the unsecured structures and abandoned buildings docket. This is going to be under item 11N1 of your agenda on page 14. Item A, 3023 South Claiborne, we're going to strike. It has been secured by the owner. Item C, 11729 North Victoria Drive. Item E, 3814 South Walker. Item J, 1425 Southwest 33rd Street. Item K, 3128 Northwest 33rd Street, all be stricken because they've been secured by the owner. Then on item 1101, under abandoned buildings on page 15, we have several items to strike. Item A, 3023 South Claiborne Avenue. Item G, 3814 South Walker. Item J, 1425 Southwest 33rd. And item K, 3128 Northwest 33rd, all have been secured by the owner.
Thank you. Next is agenda item 8, which is revocable permits and events. I understand we have several people here to speak. Item 8A is revocable permit with SKD Events for the Riverfront Grand Prix, November 30th through December 1, 2024. And it's my understanding that Mike Lorenz is here. Hi, Mike. How are you?
Good morning.
Can you tell us about your event, please?
Absolutely. This is our 30th year for this event and our second year in Oklahoma City. So we moved over here 2 years ago from Fort Smith, Arkansas. It's been a great move for us, and this permit will allow us a little room to expand and hopefully expand into a national level event in the future. This thing has become a Thanksgiving weekend tradition for hundreds of riders from 7 surrounding states. Even I've got a guy that's pretty consistent from North Carolina even that comes over. So looking forward to it. Any questions that I can?
Nikki, this is in your ward. You'll probably ask what time does the event start?
Yeah, that was actually going to be my question. And how does one get involved?
Absolutely. We've got a website. It's rfgp.com. We are also partnering with Visit OKC this year to try to get more community involvement. We've got volunteer opportunities and anything on that. It's the weekend of November 30th and December 1st. Event races start at 10 o'clock both days at Lost Lakes on Northeast
10th. All right. Well, thank you for that. Look forward to good weather and a great event.
Yes.
And for that, I will move for approval.
We have a motion. In a second, please cast your votes. It passes. We now move on to item 8B, which is a revocable right-of-way use permit with Downtown Oklahoma City Partnership to hold Saint Santa Run, December 7th, 2024. We have Olivia Branscombe here to speak, and this is in Ward 6.
Hello, Councilor. Thanks for having me today. We are holding Saint Santa Run on December 7th, Saturday. It's going to be based at the SSM St. Anthony Midtown Complex in the parking lot. We'll start registration at 9 a.m. Our first run is going to be a 1-mile fun run at 10 a.m., and then we'll do our 5K at 10:30. Our 1K route is going to go down through the city center, and then our 5K is going to go up through Heritage Hills, up to 18th and back down. We'll have different entertainment at our base, so we'll have Santa there, a magician, face painting and balloon artists for kids. We really just want to have families come out and have a great time. There will be cash prizes for the fastest runners in all categories, as well as cash prize for best Santa costume, most festive costume, and most festive pet costume. So bring out the family, bring out the pets, and we hope you join us. You can register through the Downtown in December website or at runsignup.com/Saint Santa Run.
Well, it's always very fun to see the Santas and Christmas trees and other things running down the street. Excited to see some animals, hopefully in costume this year, so I'm happy to move for approval.
We have a motion. In a second, please cast your votes. It passes. Thank you, Olivia.
Thank you.
We're now on to item 8C, which is a revocable right-of-way use permit with Ventures Endurance Events to hold OKC turkey tracks on Thanksgiving Day, November 28th, 2024. Melissa, you're here.
I am.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Can you tell us about your event?
So this year we're having our annual, I think it's the 12th year for the Oklahoma City Turkey Tracks. It's on Thanksgiving morning, which is the biggest running day of the year across the United States. We expect about 3,500 runners this year. It just keeps growing and growing. The 1 mile fun run starts at 8:30 and the 5K starts at 9. This year, the National Wild Turkey Association is given a $1,500 scholarship to the costume contest winner. So I expect a lot of turkeys to be running down the street. It starts and finishes on 5th and Harvey, and right by the memorial. And it goes all the way through Heritage Hills to 22nd, I believe, and then back down. It's a great time. It's an annual event. You know, there's not a lot of fast runners because it's just fun. It's a fun day.
Great.
Before you go eat. Any questions?
No, it sounds like it's always, yeah, very fun to see. Again, lots of turkeys and folks running around in their festive outfits. Very, very fun event, and appreciate you all providing an opportunity for families to get out and move a little bit before those afternoon naps. So I will move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. Cast your vote. It passes. Thanks for coming, Melissa. We'll recess the council at this time and convene as the Oklahoma City Municipal Facilities Authority, where we find 8 items on the agenda. If there's no individual consideration, we can take this with one motion. Please cast your vote. It passes. We'll adjourn the OCMFA and convene as the Oklahoma City Public Property Authority, where we just find claims and payroll. I think we need a motion on that. Please cast your vote. It passes. We'll adjourn the OCPPA and reconvene the council meeting, where we find ourselves at item 9, the consent docket. Do we need to pull out for separate comment, questions, or separate vote any items on the consent docket today?
Item W, just curious to know, as far as the piece of art that's going with this agreement.
Okay, is that it? All right, let's start with item W, please, on the consent docket.
Okay, Randy Marks from the Planning Department is here to answer any questions you might have about this agreement with our Museum of Modern Art.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Randy Marks, Program Planner in Arts and Cultural Affairs. We have a very, very short PowerPoint we can show, but before that, I'm happy to answer any questions that Councilman Nice in particular that you had.
I was just curious, I heard this was a rare type of agreement, so I was just curious as far as the art that is being considered for this convention center and the choice of this particular piece.
It's going to be multiple works of art over a period of time.
Oh, okay.
Probably, of course, the museum is very well known for the Del Chihuly's work. We anticipate some Del Chihuly works to be included later on. The very first work, I can't say what that's going to be just yet, but the museum and the convention center staff have talked about it. We're excited about what the possibility may be about that, and we'll have some kind of announcement about that very soon. So just since we have this PowerPoint, I'll just show we have the museum and we have the convention center in a partnership, put those together, and it's a win-win for both of them. The museum gets to show more art, and the convention center gets to show that art. And we anticipate a lot of different works to be shown over the period of the agreement, which the initial period is 5 years.
Is that all the slides?
That's it.
Oh, I was really expecting a piece.
We're going to tease you about what that art is. So, but there's something really good in store.
Well, I will also agree, as you were talking, it made me think of just the way of tourism, how this will impact folks wanting to see more of whatever that art is being displayed at the convention center. So I must say, I think that's a great way to use that collaboration for the convention center as well as the Museum of Art. So I was just curious as far as the art pieces or what was being considered, but I appreciate the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. All right. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent docket. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. It passes. We now find ourselves at the concurrence docket, principally water utility matters and an economic development agreement and a riverfront redevelopment authority agreement that we can pass with one vote. It passes. We next find ourselves at items for individual consideration. And Nikki, I just wanted to tell you, since zoning are your favorite cases, staff provided your ward with more zoning cases than anybody today.
What a going away present.
So the first item is item 11A, which is in Ward 7, which is an ordinance on final hearing recommended for approval to rezone 1416 East Reno Avenue from R1 single family to I3 heavy industrial.
Is the applicant here? Okay, thank you. If you will, help us to understand what we are doing with this development.
Yes, so I'm here on behalf of my client, 1400 East Reno LLC. They are the property owner of 1416 and all of the surrounding property, actually. All the surrounding property is zoned I3. This is really just a sliver of grass kind of to the east of the tenant of my client that wants to rezone from R1 to I3. All they're going to use that property for is to store water pipes. There's no construction going to take place. They're not going to build anything. The only other thing they're wanting to do is to build a gravel road to adjoin the property, which is 1418 East Reno to 1416, so that their forklifts can move across the properties to get the water pipes. And also, they want to use that as one entrance point and one exit point to kind of create a U for the trucks to go in one point and out the other point, because right now all of the trucks are going in just one entrance and exit, and it's causing a huge traffic backup on Reno. So they hope to alleviate that issue by building the gravel road to adjoin the property and help trucks get through.
Okay. My concern is I don't see any language for that, like a master design statement or anything, and I don't see that also in my attachments that would have been placed in here. So I'm very cautious about this particular area, only because of what my residents have already experienced when it comes to the I3 that is in place. So I would ask that we defer this. I want to look at and make sure for myself and see that information to make sure that the language depicts all of the things that you are saying to ensure that this will not be used for further, I would say, harm. Okay. And I say that lightly, but also intentionally because of what has already been taking place within this part of our community. So nothing against you, but I just want to ensure that this language is consistent with the master design statement. And then, we'll have, you all can move from there.
Actually just a straight zone, so we don't have the opportunity to do a master design statement on this one.
Well, I need to see some type of language because, again, no disrespect, but as we have been working through this part of our community and we have had difficulty with this part of our community, I'm just not gonna take word that this is okay. I need to see some writing that this is what will happen for this particular piece of property, just to secure my residents and understanding that there will be nothing that will be built specifically in this part of this area. So I mean, I don't know how we can do that, but I would ask that we work on some type of language that is written to ensure that this takes place.
So we could certainly get some assurances in writing, but it wouldn't be legally binding in perpetuity on the property. It would be maybe a statement of intentions by the applicant. I think that's the best we could hope for in this case.
We'd be happy to provide.
Okay, and then I would like to also, I'm gonna still defer that, but I still wanna talk to our attorneys to understand also what could be some protections that could be put in place for our residents that are surrounding this part of our community to ensure, again, all of the things that I have aforementioned. So very cautious about this. I hope you understand, only because of what has already taken place and continues to happen to my residents within this part of our city.
All right. And one other thing, for purposes of the record, could you give your name and address,
Oh, yes,
please?
Neely Cook,
Okay, and what's your address?
201 Robert S. Kerr Avenue. I'm with Hartsog Conger Kaysen.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Just 2 weeks. Thank you.
So we have a motion to defer for 2 weeks, I think. Second, please cast your votes. We now move on to 11B, which is another ordinance on final hearing in Ward 7. It was recommended for approval. It's to rezone 15710 Northwestern Avenue to R1 Single Family Residential. Is there anybody here to speak on this?
Mr. Zidell, you might as well come on down.
Good morning, Mark Zitzow, Johnson & Associates. Address is 1 East Sheridan Avenue. This case is a bit unique in that our client owns the home immediately to the east of the outlined parcel. They sold the development tract to the west that's known as Waterstone to a developer. They retained ownership of the piece in white along with their home. At that time, the piece in white was inadvertently zoned into the PUD. They're now attempting to sell their property. And because it is part of the PUD, it doesn't allow access from the main road off of Western. That's a private drive. So this is really a bit of cleanup. This property was never intended to be put into the PUD, and so we're trying to bring it back to R1 so it could be combined with the home parcel immediately to the east.
All right, thank you for that explanation. So with that, I will move for approval.
We have a motion. Please cast your vote. It passes. The next agenda item, I think Todd's been deferred. No? Or do you need to defer it?
We need to defer it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll make the motion to go ahead and defer it for 2 weeks.
Okay. We've got a motion. Second.
How Cooper's doing it.
It passes. We now find ourselves at 11D, which is a ordinance on final hearing. That's a two-step process. The first is an amendment to the master design statement. The second is the ordinance itself, which was recommended for approval to rezone 13900 North Bryant Avenue to PUD 2025. Ward 7?
Yes, Mr. Box, come, and while he's coming, I need to go get my notes.
Okay. Oh, other two. people signed up.
There's 3.
David Box, 522 Colcord Drive. Trying to delay here to allow her to get her notes.
There we go.
So this is an item that was deferred last time. Since that time, we have had 2 additional meetings with the councilwoman as well as the neighbors. So to refresh, this is North Bryant, we're north of Memorial. This is a PUD, or this land came through as a PUD about 2 years ago. That potential buyer was not able to close on the property, so my client is now in place. And so what we're doing is rezoning it in 2 tracts. This tract is not being rezoned, it's commercial under the current development. This tract 2 along Bryant would be personal storage, and then tract 1 would be a modified single-family development where they are attached single-family. So we spent many times talking through various aspects and various ways that we could try to accommodate some of the concerns. And as of end of last week, where we landed was we now have modified this tract to require a 60-foot setback from the east, a 60-foot setback from the south. Within that setback, there will be a 25-foot landscape buffer. And within that landscape buffer, you will have trees on 20-foot centers. So when we originally filed it, we were at 30 feet of setback. We modified it to 60 on the south, 50 on the east, and trees were on 40-foot centers with a 20-foot buffer. So we now have increased the setbacks from both the south and the east. We've increased the landscape buffer, and we've doubled the number of trees that you will have within that landscape buffer. What you see, and we've reduced the unit count by 6. So what you see on your agenda is, as the Vice Mayor said, item 1 is an amendment. We actually need to add some additional items to that amendment. Those additional items would be that the landscape buffer within tract 1 shall be 25 feet in width on the south and the east. Trees within said tract 1 buffer to be planted on 20-foot centers. Setbacks within tract 1 shall be 60 foot on the east, 60 foot on the south, which will then require a side yard setback on corner lots to be 0 and a reduction of unit count by 6. We have revised the MDS. We sent it this morning to the neighbors as well as the councilwoman. So my client is hopeful that all of these measures will lead to a positive vote from council. We did have a meeting late yesterday. It is worth noting that the HOA for the neighborhood, by a vote of 6-0, the HOA board did vote to support the PUD based upon the concessions that have been given at this time. So thankful for the neighbors and all the effort we've gone through, and hopeful that all of these concessions will now lead to a development that they are happy with. Happy to answer any questions.
I know we had some residents who have signed up to speak, so I did want to hear from those residents, please.
Okay, thank you. The first one listed is Brenda Bray. Hello, Brenda. Would you please state your name and home
Yes,
address?
my name is Brenda Bray. I live at 14209 Middlebury Road. My property directly abuts this proposal before you today. I'm a retired teacher. I have enjoyed living in Oklahoma City. When I purchased my home, I chose to invest in Oklahoma City. I'm not anti-development. I didn't expect this to remain a horse farm. I expected development. And last year, when you wisely approved it, R1, there was little opposition because Wellington Park is R1. So my main objective today is the size and scope of these townhouses. Regardless of what Mr. Box has put before you, by calling these single family, they will be platted and sold individually. I argue that 4, 6, 7, 8 units under one roof is not single family. It is not blending with the existing R1 of Wellington Park. Wellington Park sits on the furthest line in Oklahoma City. I can look out my window and see Edmond. So we are right on the borderline. This development has been very frustrating because just a year ago, we were here zoning it R1, which, in my opinion, you wisely approved, and it was the right decision to make. Looking at the drawing that Mr. Box has up here, with the size and scope of these buildings, the building behind my house would not only be behind my house, it would be behind both houses on either side of me. That's pretty big. Also, a lot has been discussed about a few extra feet, a few extra trees, but when you put a building this size abutting R1, it is not acceptable, in my opinion. I appreciate Ms. Nice in all of the detail that she has so graciously listened to us and listened to our concerns.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
Okay, I'll wrap it up with saying, Mr. Box made a big deal out of his reduction of 7%. 86 to 80 units is not significant. Also, he never mentioned were these units going to decrease the size of the building, or were the units within the building just going to be the same? I'd like to close in thanking Ms. Nice for all of the work that she's done on this behalf. I would also like to point out that none of the board members abut this property, and in spite of asking us to vote on our acceptance or denial, the majority of us voted to deny it, and they went against our wishes. Thank you very much. I look forward to your success in the Senate. Thank you very much.
Thank you for speaking to us, Brenda. Next is Patrick Bray. And Patrick, I need name and address, please.
Patrick Bray, 14209 Middlebury Road. My property adjoins PUD 2025. I'm also the block captain for North Middlebury Road. All the residents that adjoin this property are at my end of the street. I'd like to expound for just a second on what Mrs. Bray said. It's kind of hard to imagine what this structure is going to look like 60 feet from my back fence. So let's try to paint a little picture here. These carpet squares are about 2 feet. From this desk to the back wall is about 50 feet. From where the vice mayor sits, it's about 60. So how tall is this building? 20-foot ceiling here. Imagine twice that tall. How wide is it? This room, I think, is about 32 feet. So you're talking a structure 5 times as wide as this room, almost twice as tall. And so now here comes the fun part. 4 weeks ago, Mr. Cooper was not real fond of this description. I'm an engineer, he's an English professor, he knows more words than I do. All I can say is I do not believe that is compatible with our R1 Wellington Park neighborhood. So then, what do I think the task of the council today is? I think this country was built on a system of checks and balances that allowed businesses and developers to flourish while still protecting people from monopolies and unchecked development. And so that's what I think the task of the council is today, to furnish us that check and balance to protect 175 homeowners in Wellington Park from a developer who is currently circumventing adopted zoning practices by filing for a PUD. And I don't know why. Either he's paying too much for the property, or he's not creative enough to make a profit with the existing R1. I don't know. So I'm just respectfully asking you to not approve PUD 2025. In brief closing, I would like to thank all of you for your time and your service. I know Mayor Holt's not here today. Some of you may appreciate this anyway.
30 seconds remaining.
But on the way home, I plan to vote. And if he were here, I'd tell him that I plan to remember his 3 C's without telling you who I'd be voting for. His 3 C's of character, competence, and commitment. So you can tell him I do remember that when you see him. And so finally, Councilwoman Nice, I appreciate all of your hard work and effort in this. Regardless of how you vote, I wish you all the best of luck and success in the state Senate. And maybe someday we'll see you in the U.S. Congress or the governor's office. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bray. Next we have, and I hope I get this right, Michael Rusnak. Did I get that right, Michael? Correct. Name and address, please.
Good morning, Michael Rusnak. I am the Wellington Park Homeowners Association President. On behalf of the Wellington Park HOA Board, I'd like to extend our appreciation to Councilwoman Nice for her diligence in working to bring proposed solutions and resolutions to the table through no less than 6 meetings dating back 6 months and greater. Wellington Park homeowners are in rezoning fatigue. Having endured this process twice in a 2-year span, both with different outcomes on the same parcels of land. There remain many unknowns on this parcel of land, both residential and commercial development. We do appreciate the efforts of the developer's behalf to sharpen his pencil to deliver concessions. While these meet some, they do not meet all of the requests of homeowners directly along and abutting the property line. For the record, I personally have obtained of the 8 homeowners along the east property line 4 opposed to this PUD, 2 acceptant of the concessions in this PUD, and 2 non-responsive homeowners. As a board, we take the willingness of the developer to work these concessions as an indication of future good faith efforts to work with Wellington Park on other matters that will arise as the process moves forward. Taking into account all the feedback from all the homeowners who were willing to respond, and 3 called votes of the HOA board members over the last 4 days, in a vote representing the overall interest of the entire Wellington Park neighborhood, the Wellington Park HOA Board votes by a majority of 6-0 to accept the proposed concessions offered by the developer to PUD 2025. Thank you for your difficult choices you make. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We next have Michael C. Washington.
Yes, the one on there. 100 Park Place. Thank you, wonderful people, for showing us.
Can you please first give your name and address? I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
I'm sorry,
That's my fault.
Yeah, 100 Park Place, Midway City. Well. Oh, let us disregard these wonderful people who have had more loving fun, relaxation, and peace of mind knowing that some disruptions are not going to disrupt the wonderful and peaceful developments that they've been so graciously allowed to take part in. Being able to walk down the streets without some extravagant building obstructing their view, maybe possibly enforcing disruptions and even heartfelt crime. Oh, no, not any disrespect to the developer here. Let me say one thing. I'm all for economic development, especially in real estating, though not one myself. But I do believe you have to realize that the residents' opinions must count, not simply just as a rollover, and then you disregard it later on with a vote. You have one man wanting to come in, maybe a company, versus people who have already established themselves over the years, developing these properties in the hopes of maybe living out their lives forever. Not to come in and say, oh, let me come in with my magic wand and change all of that, as if I'm in an episode of The Twilight Zone. This is not fair to them, nor will I accept it as being. I don't know the people from man to moon. But I do know when there's a righteous cause, I must stand up at any all costs and any means necessary for those under the sound of my voice. I don't care who you are, where you live, where you come from, how much money you got in your pocket, justice must prevail. And I say to you people with the stroke of that pen and with the vote of one, y'all need to listen to these people. Y'all need to listen to these people. This man got some other property, he can go and build it somewhere else. Why has this got to be in this area? Because he knows that area is successful. I understand that you wouldn't be putting it there, obviously, if that wasn't the case. But don't just come in and disrupt these people, disregard their lives.
30
They
seconds
need the
remaining.
comfort in knowing that they're going to have y'all listening to them. They put you in office for a reason. Not by accident, but by design. And they felt that you were going to step in and take on the responsibilities, even though your districts are different than Ward 7. Let's be it in closing. If it were in your ward, how would you vote? Would you listen to the people or one person? And I say, hasta la vista, baby. I will be back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that it? All right.
That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Box, help me to hear, I was listening to the comments from the Brays as far as the decrease in size of those units that we were talking about, and what does that look like for this particular development within Tract 1?
Sure. We don't know yet. Because we have to go through a specific plan process, they'll have the opportunity at Planning Commission to see it. We haven't designed it, so what we can tell you is we will reduce down the unit count from what we propose. We don't know exactly where we're going to take those 6 units from.
Okay. And I think it's important, a couple of things for our council to take into account to this is, one, I'm fatigued from having to continue to do these things because this is one of 2 as far as these rezonings that have come to Ward 7. So you all will be privy to one in a couple of weeks that has been rezoned just a year ago or within the last couple of years. And now someone's coming back to the table to rezone. So I would hope you all would be fatigued of these 2, especially for the fact, no offense to this developer or the new developers, but the fact that we have to get our residents engaged, we have to get them to the table, we have to have these conversations, and even us as individuals and residents in our own neighborhoods, you expect one thing to happen when you see it and you say yes to it or no to it, whatever the case may be, and then you have to come back within 18 to 24 months to say, well, scratch that, we're doing something different. And I know for you as a resident and the residents that have had to continue to have meetings have said the same thing about how these continue to come forward in front of us. So here with this particular proposal that is being presented in front of us, one thing that we do know for sure, and I think this is the consideration of the developer, is that he grew up within this part of Wellington Park. He's familiar with this part of Wellington Park as far as the community is concerned, riding horses there, and takes ownership in how this development is supposed to work for our residents. And I want to extend my gratitude for him because every time we've asked him to come to the table and maybe look at a different concession and take a different consideration, he has so graciously obliged. And for our residents and our neighbors within Wellington Park, I apologize for your fatigue, because I know this is very difficult to continue to have to come to the table for these conversations and expectations of one thing, and now you presented something totally opposite of what you were expecting when it first was presented. So those are the difficulties in these conversations. A couple pieces to take into account, and then I'll ask if there are any other questions. This particular development part of Tract 1, we do understand that it will be fenced, it will be gated, it will not be connected to the neighborhood. There is one entrance, and it will come through the street of Bryant, and therefore, again, it won't fully impact the neighborhood as far as entrance is concerned. Not to say it won't impact the neighborhood at all. I would be telling a fib if we knew all these things, anytime they're developed, they impact communities in different ways. So we do know this particular way that this will be designed, it does not have an entrance into the neighborhood. Another consideration is also that Tract 1, is it just Tract 1 that has to do the site review?
That's a good question. Let me look.
I believe
it's everything.
Okay. The one great thing about this is that there will be a site review plan for the neighborhood to also consider. Just Tract 1? Both tracks, excellent. And we do know that there are no issues with Tract 2 according to the neighborhood. So this is not an easy decision to make whatsoever. So what I am going to ask that we do is read the record of the amendment into the conversation for us to move forward to amend the master design statement to include those concessions, just to make sure those are mentioned and those are accepted for this particular zoning application.
So the additional amendments to be added to the already printed amendments are landscaping buffer along the south and the east in Tract 1 shall be 25 feet. Trees within said 25-foot buffer shall be planted on 20-foot centers. Setbacks within Tract 1 along the east shall be 60 feet, along the south 60 feet, with side yard setbacks on corner lots to be 0 and a reduction of unit count by 6.
Okay, and just so I'm clear, is that amendment going into the master design, or is that into the ordinance on final hearing?
And that's amending the master design statement, so that will be one.
Okay, thank you.
So I will ask that we amend as we just heard, just amend the application as we heard and move forward from there.
All right, do I have a motion to amend the master design statement with the modifications that came before us today? It passes. Now we'll move to D2.
D2 will allow us to move forward the application. And again, I wanted to thank everyone for their comments and for our neighborhood for being stewards of each other when it came to this application, and to our Wellington Park Neighborhood Association. And my prayers are that we will not see this again. So Mr. Gravitt, please do all that you can to make sure we can get this to the finish line and make sure our residents are taken care of within this part of our community.
Can I confirm one thing? So the statements that you read, are those included in the number 1 on the agenda, or were those different?
Additional.
They're
Those are in
additional.
addition to what's on the agenda.
So let's go ahead and take a vote on D1 as well.
We just did.
No, his,
Okay.
We amended. We
Okay.
amended.
So what you're saying
We
is,
made an amendment to the amendment.
yeah.
right.
Now we need to
We
accept
approved
the
the
amendment.
amendment, now we're going to approve the overall amendment,
Okay.
including what you just read into the record.
Sure.
So I'll entertain a vote. Thank you for your help. It passes. So now we go to D2, which is the ordinance on final hearing, please.
Before we do, Mr. Box, I'm just curious. Some of these amendments, and I want to thank Councilwoman Nice, you reached out to me at the Councilwoman's request. Would you mind, for the record, what did we amend that Ward 2 added to this?
I think the tree component was one that you were interested in. So we've doubled the number of trees within that setback, as well as increased the size of the landscape buffer.
Why did we do that?
Well, it was requested of us to come up with a way to increase landscaping, and that was the way that we chose to offer it.
Do you remember why?
Why specifically you asked, I don't recall.
I do, because of the concerns I heard from the neighbors about the very things we heard here today in terms of the harmony between this proposed development and the existing homes and the height to create a buffer. English professors listen and then they use words, and they use those words to become law. I just want to make it very clear that I listened to what the neighbors were saying, and I did my best to mitigate the harm I heard you all say you thought this development would bring to your neighborhood. I pulled up the address on a map. Please know, I drive, you mentioned being a teacher. I used to be an adjunct at UCO, teaching English. I don't like interstates unless I'm on a road trip. I drive from my neighborhood, the Paseo. This was from 2011 until 3 years ago. I take Martin Luther King, which becomes Eastern. I drive through the antenna farm, and I did that for 10 years because I like the rural aspect of that part of town. If I had a magic wand, no offense to you all who live there right now, all of this would have remained farmland. It would have been a place for horses and the country. I would never have built the sort of neighborhoods that now exist there that look like the ones I grew up in. I would have preserved that. But I wasn't born in the 1950s when Stanley Draper annexed all of that land. I would have preserved all of it because I worry about our ecosystem and I worry about the strain on our resources. So I wouldn't have brought this development here at all right now. But I knew that there was probably enough votes up here to pass it. And with that in mind, it's how can you bend it to mitigate harm? How can you bend it to mitigate harm? And I heard the harm expressed, and I did the best I could. The best I could. It's not perfect, but in an English class, we have something called compromise. So, since my name was evoked, and since my profession seemed to be considered unimportant in this conversation, it was this idea that an English professor just has words. Words are law. They are our Constitution and they are our Declaration, and the words in this spud will now govern you all and give you the cover you need going forward with the review process to make sure this developer does what they're supposed to do. Words are not just words. They are law.
I hope you didn't take anything that my side said.
Nope, sure didn't.
Okay.
We'll give you 60 seconds.
The deterioration of Bryant in front of this property. And moving forward with this development, I certainly hope the city manager will take a really good look at the deterioration of that street. We're on the pothole brigade. Every month they show up with their truck to fill up all of these holes. And with rains like we had over the last couple of days, the water goes over the curb, and if you meet oncoming traffic in that portion, it completely covers your windshield. So, city manager, I'd really like for you to address the road before it any more traffic from this development is put on it.
What I would recommend you all doing, so you mentioned Councilwoman Nice outgoing to our state legislature. We're going to appoint an interim council person between her leaving this position, stepping into the Senate, and then there will be an election. We will have a bond election next September, and that's the only time we ever, as you know, get a chance to put roads on a list for resurfacing. I would encourage you, if you haven't already, at these bond meetings for Ward 7 that Councilwoman has hosted, attend those meetings that she's hosting and her successor, and keep advocating. And then if you find that road doesn't make the priority list, you need to ask the city manager what's their bigger plan to address the systemic problem that we have of too many of our roads not getting addressed, and then stay on them. That's what I would encourage you to do.
Well, you know, in the last few months, the entrance by our neighborhood, the road completely caved in. They had to come in and do rebar and cement and really fix that properly. So I'd just like to see that done before any more traffic is put on it. Thank you.
Thank you. And to the point, Councilperson Cooper, we had, in our meeting yesterday afternoon, I aforementioned the general obligation bond and the ways that they can do a community meeting in a box for the neighborhood association. And one of the residents also expressed the need for a traffic light and sidewalks. So these are things that can also be incorporated in their future use. And I also want to say, I'm not sure, I want to apologize because I don't know where the offense would have came from if in regard to you being an English teacher, you are much more than that. So appreciate the work that you are doing. So we are here for this, and I'm going to move it forward, and we'll go from there.
We have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. It passes. We are at item 11E, which was deferred, so we'll move on to item 11F, which is in Ward 3. It's an ordinance on final hearing. Recommended for approval to rezone to 2038 South Sarah Road to PUD 2028. Oh, okay. Well, let's come back to that later. Since Barbara's not here. So we'll go to item G, which is in Ward 7 again. It's your day, Nikki. This is an ordinance on final hearing to rezone 3217 North Lindsay Avenue to SPUD 1657, please.
Go ahead.
David Box, 522 Colcord Drive. This is for an SPUD that would allow for a senior living project. My client has family that lives in the neighborhood, spent a lot of time visiting with folks in that neighborhood before making submission. It did go to Planning Commission with no protest. Staff recommends approval. Planning Commission likewise had a unanimous recommendation for approval, and it's now before you.
Okay. I will say this has been asked for within the community as far as some senior housing and development. So very grateful for us to be able to have something like this in this particular area of our community and our city of Capitol View. So with that, I will move for approval.
We have a motion for item 11G. Please cast your votes. It passes.
Thank you. It's my last Ward 7 item. Good luck at the Senate. Thank you.
We'll now move on to item 11H, which is also in Ward 7. It's an ordinance on final hearing, recommended for approval to rezone 1900 North Martin Luther King Avenue to SPUD 1659.
And the applicant is present. She's been waiting patiently, so come on up if you'd like to talk about your development.
Would you please state your name and address
Yes,
for the
my
record?
name
I'm
is
sorry.
Delania Lowe. Delania Lowe,
And your address?
1900 North Martin Luther King.
Thank you.
And basically, we're just requesting this to be rezoned to commercial. It has always had commercial business there, but it was initially industrial. Then it was at some point changed to a residential, but it's always had a commercial business there. And so just asking that it is rezoned to commercial.
All right, and I know exactly where this property is and the historical significance of the prior ownership. So with that, we do need some more commercial in this part of our community. I will move for approval.
Okay, we're moving for approval of 11H. Cast your votes. It passes. If we could, let's go back to 11F, which is in Ward 3. It's an ordinance on final hearing, recommended for approval to rezone 2038 South Sarah Road to PUD 2028.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Thank you for your patience.
Yes.
Let's see. Seeing that it was recommended for approval and no one has signed up to speak, I assume?
No one signed up.
Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and move for approval.
We have a motion to approve. Please cast your votes. It passes. We now find ourselves at 11I, which is in Ward 6. It's an ordinance on final hearing. Oh, it's been deferred? I'm sorry. Okay. Item 11I has been deferred. So let's go to item 11J, which is also in Ward 6. It's an ordinance on final hearing establishing reserved parking on the north side of Northwest 4th Street to the east of the east curb line of North Kentucky Avenue. Ward 6.
I will move for approval.
We have a motion to approve. Please cast your votes. It is approved. We now find ourselves at item 11K, which is an ordinance on final hearing relating to general schedules of fees for water and sewer rates. We've had a public meeting on this, and it is now prepared for a vote. I'll entertain a motion as more fully set forth in the ordinance. Please cast your votes. It passes. We now find ourselves at item 11L, which is a public hearing regarding an ordinance relating to the personnel and retirement systems for Oklahoma City. Has anybody signed up to speak?
No, they haven't.
All right, no one has signed up to speak, so we'll now move to 11M, which is a public hearing regarding dilapidated structures. And have we had anybody sign up to speak? Mr. Washington.
Yes, how's everyone? How's everyone? Wonderful. Can I see those? Okay, we got it. I'm not going to take this long. I love this gentleman. He's been very respectful to me, so I got to give him his.
Would you please give your address?
Yeah, 100 Park, excuse me, sir, Midwest City.
Oh.
Dilapidated, unsecured structures. I'd like to ask you a question, sir. When they are deemed dilapidated and unsecured, are they immediately taken? It's others watching. I told them I'd speak for them today, so I'm just trying to figure so they'll know. In other words, if it's dilapidated, unsecured structures, what happens? Do they have a time frame? Do you have to get it straightened out? Or how do you vote to take the property from them? How does that work? I mean, just while the people watching.
Yeah, real short. Chad Davidson, Code Enforcement Superintendent. When a structure's dilapidated, declared dilapidated, they'll immediately have 30 days to come up with a plan of action to remedy the issue on the property. We always are willing to work with property owners to bring the property in compliance and have a lot of success with that as well. Unsecured is a little different story.
Right.
We want those properties secured immediately so they do not end up in a dilapidated status. A lot of times unsecured properties end up falling victim to fire, especially as the temperatures change.
Okay, definitely. Okay, that's, now, are we just on the M, sir, or the N2, and how does that work? Because I want to kind of look at this 5525 Jericho house shed. Oh, yes, oh, man, I have to, oh, no, yeah. Yeah, so they need to straighten that out. If you're watching, straighten that out. Oh, my goodness, Lord, no, go ahead, I'm through. Oh, my goodness, yes. Let's see what else we got here. I mean, Vice Mayor, does the N go with the M too? That's what I'm trying to figure. N? Oh, it does? It does? Oh, okay. Can I see 2613 South Blackwelder?
Hmm. 30 seconds remaining.
Oh, yes, okay. You know what, I got 30 seconds. Let me just cut this off by saying, I do agree, man, that property value should not be decreased because of, you know, dilapidated structures. I mean, people may have lived or died and gone or whatever the case is, but you're right, man. You know, these are neighborhoods that, oh, no, I mean, you have all kind of harm. Places could fall down, vehicles could actually walk in. Yes, I agree with that one. So I'm going to close out with that on that. I appreciate that so much. Thank you.
Thanks, Chad, for that explanation. Is there anybody else signed up to speak? Oh, it is M1B. Okay. Is Rosa Garner here? Name, address, and what item you're speaking on, please.
Good morning. My name is Rosa Garner. I'm at 499 West Sheridan Avenue, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I'm here speaking on item 11M1B,
Okay.
address 404 Southwest Grand Boulevard. I'm here on behalf of the property manager, the property owner of that property. We would like to request some additional time to demolish that property. It is currently secured and it is insured. We are working with a buyer so that we can potentially sell the property, and whether the current property owner or the buyer will demolish the property, we'd just like to request some time to communicate with the city to coordinate with our insurance, the buyers, and contractors in order to get a firm plan in place to demolish the property.
Gotcha. Chad, would you be able to work with her on that?
Absolutely. We spoke earlier. We've also spoke with the property owner, and we've explained to them just providing a good plan of action for us. We'll be willing to work with them to provide them the time they need.
So how do you want to do that? Do you want to leave this on the list? Do you want to defer it?
That's our
for a period of time?
preference.
Do
To
what?
leave it
Leave it
to be
on there.
declared, yes.
Okay, all right. Are you okay with that?
We're okay with that, thank you.
All right. So anybody else signed up to speak? I see none. No. All right, so we'll move to item M2, which is resolution declaring the structures are dilapidated. I'd appreciate a vote, a motion. We have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. It passes. We'll now go to item 11N1, which is public hearing regarding unsecured structures. Do we have anybody signed up to speak? Then we'll move to item N2, which is the resolution declaring structures are unsecured. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. It passes. We now move to item 1101, which is a public hearing regarding abandoned buildings. Has anyone signed up to speak? Oh, it's the same thing? Yeah. Rosa, have you signed up to speak for this too, or are you finished? You're done for the day? Okay, thank you. There being no one signed up to speak, we'll move on to 1102, which is the resolution declaring buildings are abandoned. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. It passed. We'll now move on to item 11P, which is a joint resolution with the Oklahoma City Economic Development Trust certifying that Project School, a proposed feature film, is an eligible product. We have Jill Simpson here today. Good to see you, Jill. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy to be here to present our 8th applicant for the Oklahoma City Rebate Program. It is an Oklahoma-based project that we've code-named Project School, and it's a low-budget independent feature, coming-of-age story set in a high school. Their filming dates are November 22nd through December 18th. As of yesterday, I found out they are utilizing Prairie Surf as their home base, which is a final project to be in the facility, which I'm happy about. Produced by Tulsa-based Talia Bella and Randy Wayne of Rebellion Films. They're both, Randy's from Oklahoma, Talia is actually from Argentina, and they relocated to Oklahoma in 2020 and set up a company here. They're prolific filmmakers doing several features a year. They'll be filming in various locations around Oklahoma City and in El Reno, and it's all practical locations, no sound stages for the shoot. 100% of the crew is Oklahoma City based. Anticipated Oklahoma City expenditures totaling $1.8 million, little above that, which is 75% of their budget. They qualify at the 5% level, meeting the minimum expenditure of $500,000. Again, anticipated local expenditures of $1.864 million, and they're pre-qualified 50%, at least 50% of filming days in Oklahoma City, main production office in Oklahoma City. They're pre-qualified for the state rebate program. So we recommend their allocation for this project from Oklahoma City be $91,728. Estimated number of local Oklahoma City Metro hires is 587, which is pretty high. And that is based on the fact they're shooting in a high school and using a lot of extras. So that translates to 2,066 actual working days and 100% of local crew. Qualifying labor is $1,080,008. And filming days at Oklahoma City practical locations are 10 days or 56% of the shooting schedule. Post-production, they're still working it out where they're going to get the contract to do post. We're hoping Oklahoma City. Mr. Cooper, you look like you have a question. No? Okay, next. 56% of filming days within Oklahoma City, again, 100% of local crew, majority of vendors with an eye toward diversity. They are working out their contracts, but have assured me they're doing everything possible to hire local and minority whenever possible. After running this project through our local economic impact modeler, the total economic impact for the project is $4.9 million. Jobs supported, direct and indirect, are 619. Labor income, $427,216. Qualified expenditures, again, $1.834569. Taxable expenditures, $300,431. Below the line salary and per diem, $886,930. And above the line salary that we cap at 25%, $193,078. Does anybody have any questions for me? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Washington, it's my understanding you would like to speak on this item? You know the drill. Name and address.
Yeah, Michael Washington, 100 Park Place, Midwest City. You know what? I like what I heard. But there's only one thing I'm missing. I failed to hear why I'm included. That's right. I'm a great actor, by the way, naturally so. You know, so I need to be in film. Now, I just heard her say that they're going to try and hire minorities where eligible and where they can. I'm a minority, and I'd like to know what it takes to qualify, whether it is in front of the camera or behind it. And I believe with my talent, I'll bring a lot of people to, you know, whatever industry we're in other words, to whether we're in film or whether we rehearsals or whatever the case, I'll bring people to the spot. And we'll have sold out audiences. But I don't know, like, I guess I'll get with this kind lady when it's over with and see what in the world's going on, because like I said, I know that I can make a difference in this. Joint resolution, Oklahoma City Economic Trust certifying that Project School, a proposed feature film, is an eligible project under the Strategic Investment Program's Film Incentive Program, approving an allocation not to exceed $91,728 in pay for performance film incentives. Again, I don't have anything bad to say about that because, like I said, we're putting people to work, maybe young people, old, whatever the case is, and giving the income in. But I would like to say, how can I get into that, man? I mean, you know, if you really want an amazing guy, very controversial guy, a guy who loves people, who don't discriminate against anyone, and who can make people laugh, cry, or joke however he wants to, I am that guy. I am he that I am. You know, y'all seen the softer side of Michael today, because I like what I see. Opportunities are abounding. And with me in it, we can probably get more money geared toward that project. Trust General Management to negotiate a film incentive project school.
30 seconds, please.
I must say that I must, in closing, I believe that you wonderful people ought to include me into this. How many of y'all right now, let me show of hands. No, don't do that because I know none of y'all going to. Would vote me to be in the film? You know, I'm just having fun, man. You know what I'm saying? This is one of those times. I got to give back to the community. I'm always not mean or vicious or everything. Thank y'all very much. Ma'am, that's great.
Thank you, Mr. Washington.
Hi, I'd just like to respond for the record that I'm always there to help people, try to get them connected. I have a website, filminokc.com, that has got a online crew and production services and project database, and I can help make connections for anybody.
Well, yes, that's all. Thank you.
Jill, you do a great job, and we appreciate your presentation today. All right, so if there's no more discussion, I'd entertain a motion on item 11P. It passes. We'll move on to item 11Q, which is a resolution authorizing the municipal councilor to confess judgment in the case of Robert Malberg versus the City of Oklahoma City. There's no executive session requested, so I'd entertain a motion at this time, please. It passes. We'll now move to item 11R on the agenda, which is a resolution again authorizing the municipal councilor to confess judgment in Rays versus City of Oklahoma City. We have not been asked to go into executive session, so I'd again entertain a motion. We have a motion second. It passes. We now go on to item 11S, which again is a resolution authorizing the municipal councilor to confess judgment without admission of liability in the case of Scott versus the City of Oklahoma City. We have not been asked to go into executive session, so I'd entertain a motion. We have a motion and a second. It passes. We now are at item 11T, which is a resolution authorizing the municipal councilor not to appeal Andrews versus City of Oklahoma City. We have not been asked to go into executive session, so I'd entertain a motion. We have a motion second. Please vote. It passes. We now find ourselves at item 11U, which is claims recommended for approval. We have one claim, U1A. There's no request for executive session, so I entertain a motion for the claim. Motion and second. Cast your votes. It passes. We'll move on to comments from council, and I'd like to begin with the comments today, if no one minds. Nikki, I looked at your bio last night, and I noticed 6 years ago tomorrow, in a runoff election, you were elected to this office. In February 2021, you were reelected without any opposition, and so I've had the privilege of sitting next to you for 6 years almost. I knew you a little before that. My favorite story, it always makes me laugh, is when I first met Nikki, I met her through a friend of mine, Jason Ledlow. Jason and Nikki were serving on the Heartline board, and Jason said, would you come and meet Nikki? She wants to run for council. So I met with her over at Stella Nova on Western and with Jason, and I told her what a campaign was like and what you had to do when you're on the council, and we had a nice visit. The next day, Jason called me, and he said, so what'd you think? And I said, gotta be honest with you, I thought she was a little shy and a little quiet. Well, I got that wrong. There's nothing about Nikki being shy or quiet. She always speaks her position. We don't always agree, but she articulates her position well. And so we thank you for your service, and come back and see us soon. Bradley?
Nikki, we've only talked a handful of times, but I'm just extremely impressed with you, and I look forward to seeing you in the Senate and what you can do there. And thank you for your heart for your community and what you've done in the time that we've been able to share this together.
First, a question, I think for Assistant City Manager. Do we know when yet the request for proposals for the arena operator will make its way to council?
I do not know that off the top of my head, but I will find out.
Okay, but it is my understanding a request for proposal would have to occur because it would be a new arena and a new operator, is that correct?
I believe so.
Just making sure. Okay, Councilwoman. I did the math. I think this is correct. 10 years ago this August, we met, and it was in the aftermath of what was happening in Ferguson, Missouri. I had heard Nikki's name. I knew this radio DJ, this personality on the east side, but at Urban League, right off of Martin Luther King, a group of us, maybe a dozen people, sat at a conference table, and the question was, well, what are we gonna do here in Oklahoma City to address this legacy, right, that the whole country seems to find itself haunted by, right? And like I said, I knew Nikki's name, but that day at that table, I just sat there and I was like, this woman means business. I don't know what to tell y'all. If you've been in a room with Nikki, when it comes to policy and the people, I just remember sitting there that day and I was like, oh, James, your nice guy thing's not gonna work here. She's gonna hold you accountable. And I could never have guessed that 4 years later, you would run for council I could never have guessed. One of the biggest surprises of my life was that November, right after, I think you had just won, and I held a watch party, not a watch party, but a launch party at Ponyboy in Uptown, and you showed up. You know, in politics, people tend to be very cautious about who they support generally, but especially when it's the new person on the street. Nikki walked right up those stairs and said, "What do you need? What do you need?" And that's just been our relationship for all those 6 years since. And I think it was born at that conference table because we didn't know each other, but we knew the needs of our communities, and we knew it was serious business. And that's just how Nikki has been this whole time. Briefly, let me just remind everybody that the fact that she sits in this seat is a testament to overcoming a legacy of discrimination built into law. Remember the very first, and this goes to Councilman's comments, we don't always have to vote the same way, right, with each other, but we should be able to vote. And the very first law, this legislature passed, remember? Senate Bill 1. It wasn't about addressing the cost of living needs of our people, housing, grocery bills. It wasn't about utilities. The first order of business was to say, if your grandfather could not vote prior to the Civil War, you can't going forward in the state of Oklahoma. That was the first order of business, to make sure that people who look like Nikki Nice and myself could not vote. I say that on Election Day intentionally. I couldn't have known this would be Nikki's last day on this body. But that was the first bill, first order of business. So scared was our legislature of black people. So convinced they had told people that black people could not be lawyers, doctors, that they were literally not human. They were a subspecies of human who must have a paternal master to take care of them, destined to crime. And it wasn't until the Federal Voting Rights Act in '65, after Clara Luper desegregated the city with her students, where black people were able to vote, and then to thusly serve on this body, to serve in the legislature, to serve in the governor's mansion. Nikki Nice rests on the shoulders of giants, stands on them, marches on with them. I know this might just sound like a big speech, but I think we have to say it. We have to say it because there are more Nikkis coming after her in all of our seats. Whether you come from an Irish legacy, a German legacy, whatever it may be, there is this history of discrimination, but none more so than that first order of business to deny black folk the right to the ballot, the right to serve their people. And she is now only the second woman to serve on this horseshoe of color. Only the second. May she not be the last. May she not be the last. I am only the first biracial black person or black person to serve outside of Nikki Nice's ward, because neighborhoods wrote into their contracts that you could not sell a house to a black person lest they bring crime to your neighborhood. But Ward 2, a majority white district, time and time again now has says that teacher will do, because that teacher cares for their neighborhood, for us. And that's how we got to start thinking, that it is truly not the color of our skin, but actually the content of our character. And that is what Nikki Nice has reminded us. We might disagree with her. We might find that passions may strain sometimes in our conversations. Trust me, there have been some heated moments with Nikki and me where I'm like, oh my God, is she still gonna be my friend? But it's called conflict resolution, and we've always got to be working toward that. a grocery store, preserving black spaces, the Lions and Luster Mansion, the Brockway Center, preserving Jewel Theater, honoring Deep Deuce and the Black roots there, $100 million secured for Northeast OKC out of MAPS for making sure the first black woman who ever served on this body, Willa D. Johnson, that building is stewarded into the future, and that the Senior Wellness Center had the voices of seniors from the East Side guiding it to 950 members from December to February. We are the first time that two black people have served on this council together. It will not be the last. It must not be the last. And I'm guessing that Nikki, Senate Bill 1, while it is on our history books, now too are you in Oklahoma State Senate. Godspeed you, and thank you for being my friend. Thank you, Mama Nice, for being a friend to my mother. That's the history books as well. So, thank you all.
Well, it's already been said, and I don't know that I could say any more. Nikki, I spoke to you directly this morning. Good luck in the Senate. To our city, it is election day, and no matter what the outcome is in any of the seats today, tomorrow, we are still united as one OKC, and I look forward to what tomorrow brings. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I've been able to visit a couple of areas in Ward 4 that were really devastated by tornadoes over the weekend. And I can tell you, if you're interested in providing any help or supplies, one of the best locations to drop that off would be at the Windwood Free Will Baptist Church. It's over on Southeast 89th, just right there, just west of Center Road. There's a lot of people in there doing great work, providing supplies for other people, just in helping them overcome their challenges. And I know one of the things that they're especially looking for there are baby supplies, diapers, wipes, bottles, different things like that. So anything you can do to help in that area, I'd appreciate it. I know on my end, I just want to make sure to continue to follow up with the city, making sure that we're doing everything we can do to assist. And as detrimental as this thing has been, at the same time, it's really a blessing that we've had no casualties come out of it. Looking at houses with a truck laying in the middle of the living room, you're like, man, this happened at 2 a.m. in November. I wouldn't expect that truck to be laying in my living room. To not have any casualties has been a really good thing. Besides that, today is my anniversary, 41 years. And I always tell everyone, Mary Ann won the lottery 41 years ago. It's not the case. I won, but congratulations to her. Thank you.
Todd, where did you say these, like for the baby supplies and stuff, where were you suggesting?
I would drop them off at Windwood Free Will Baptist Church. It's on Southeast 89th, just west of Sooner.
Thank you, and congratulations on your marriage.
Thank you.
Aubrey?
Thank you for including me under items from council. I know on behalf of the city manager's office, we want to thank you for your service. And as long as we're telling our favorite Nikki Nice stories, one of the things you didn't include on your list was one of my favorite projects I got to work on. I thought that I had seen and heard it all in the community of what could happen, but lo and behold, the city of Oklahoma City did not have an ordinance to prevent people from gutting their home, turning off the HVAC, and then operating a commercial Japanese quail raising facility inside that home as a nuisance to the neighborhood. So we buttoned that up and we did an ordinance. So no project or response is too big or too small. Appreciate having worked with you, and so congratulations, best wishes to you in the Senate.
Thank you. Ward 5?
I'd like to thank the Penn South neighborhood for inviting me to their Neighbors Night Out, and good turnout. I'd like to send my condolences to Mary Ann Stone. Bless her heart. Nikki, I wish you the best in the Senate, and I really think this is just a ruse to get out of the pickleball game that never happened.
Thank you. Ward 6?
Thank you. I was like, don't cry, Jo Beth, and then immediately just open my mouth and want to cry. I'll probably have to save a lot of what I have in my head to put in writing at some point. But just to share one of my first memories of getting to know Nikki after she had won, I believe it was the period between November and then the February of my election. We bumped into each other just here on Main Street outside of Clarity Coffee because there was a meeting about, I believe it was a MAPS 3 meeting about the Senior Wellness Center for Ward 7, and she was unloading a bus full of older folks, seniors, to come to the meeting to share what they would like to see in the senior center. And that, I feel like, so well represents Councilwoman's service to the city and to the community, particularly in the words of Shirley Chisholm, that if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. And she has made a lot of folks bring out folding chairs, rightfully so, to make space for more voices, more people, more perspectives, and it has been an honor serving with you. I know you're going to do amazing things in the Senate and continue to show up for your community, and I look forward to being able to work with you in that capacity. So thanks.
I don't do this on a regular basis, so I accidentally skipped Kenny. He would like to say something.
Yes, I would say I have greatly enjoyed working with Nikki over the years. She has contacted me or our office about many issues. She is very passionate about her issues, works very hard for her issues, and I would say of all the council members I've worked with over the years, she was one of the most active for her ward, and Ward 7 has really been well served.
Thank you, Kenny. Nikki, you have the mic.
Well, first, I'm usually not at a loss for words, but today I am. And to all that are here, I just want to say thank you to my mom, to my friends, family, friends. I appreciate it. To our council members, I know this has been a journey of you all understanding me and understanding the difficulties and the opportunities and the strengths of Ward 7 through my lens. And I know some of those have seemed unconceivable. I know some of those have seemed recognizable. And I know some of those have seemed impossible. But because of your support, we've been able to get a lot of good things done within Ward 7. So I'm grateful for that. Bradley, thank you. I know we have had a couple different conversations over coffee, and I think the beauty of democracy is you can agree to disagree. That's what democracy is supposed to look like, and I would say it has been extended well here. To James, I thank you. I talk to you often, so there's not a lot for us to say openly that we can't say, together. And to Barbara, thank you. I know we've not had a lot of conversations, but I appreciate the ways that as women we have been able to connect. To Todd, while it's fine that nothing was said, happy anniversary to you. And also, I appreciate you because I don't know if you remember, there were some difficult decisions that you were put in the middle of. And you still use your conscience to say, I need to do the right thing. And I appreciate you for that. I remember after one vote in particular, I don't know if we were in James's office or my office, but we hugged. And I remember that because I know it was difficult to make that type of decision on that day. So thank you. Mr. Kenny, thank you. Every time I call you, you do respond. And I had to learn how to ask the right question to get the answer. And finally, we did that. And thank you for the just responding. Because I know a lot of times as community and as council members and even as city, your hands are full in the office. And for you to take time to make me a priority, my community a priority, and the things that we need a priority, I appreciate that. And to Assistant City Manager, thank you as well. I almost forgot about that story with the quail, but I had to go by there and take pictures because no one would believe me had I just told them this story. And the neighbors came out and they were like, here, come on, we're taking you over there to look at all these quail. But I think between that and all of the other things we've been able to accomplish, I'm grateful. And I had you working. I think as soon as I got elected, we were doing a town hall and you were present. So I appreciate you for being present and continuing to stay present when I needed you most. Mark, we will do pickleball. One day we'll do pickleball. And as far as you and JoBeth, I appreciate you all being next to me because if I couldn't talk to JoBeth, I'm over here talking to you. And we would agree to disagree. And I think that's also the beauty of being able to have a difference of opinion, but also being able to come together for common good of serving our city and our community. And I am going around, so thank you, Miss Amy, Miss Dina, Miss Mickey, you ladies and our other support staff have been phenomenal and patient and kind, because I know our community and our residents, you are the front-facing pieces sometimes when we sit in this chamber, and you have to be patient just as much as we do with our residents. So thank you for that. Thank you. Mr. Hinkle, thank you. I know I haven't known you as long, but we have had a few conversations, and I love my bench that you handcrafted for me that holds my business cards. I will forever treasure that because that is a beautiful piece of art among the others that sit in my office. And JoBeth, thank you for what you bring and have been to me and to this council. And JoBeth and I, our birthdays are like 8 days apart. 8 days apart, so we get to celebrate together a lot, our birthdays, and just being able to learn the lay of the land of our city. So I'll try to keep it as brief as I can. From our custodial staff, Joel, to our cadets, to our officers that sit down when we come in this building, to the 5th floor, to 100 Main, or 420, to all of the other places that are 500, I wish we had 500,000, but are over 5,000 people that work for the city I extend my deepest gratitude for your efforts of what you do for our city. I only am here because of the work that you all get to do. To Ms. Debbie, to Boyd, to James, who's enjoying his beautiful wife in his honeymoon, to Randy, who retired, to Mrs. Beverly. You all are the backbone of our city council, and I am grateful that I have a chance and have had the chance to be with you all. You know, when I ran for office, I had no idea what I was getting myself into, probably quite like all of you. It's like, okay, what did I just sign up for? Hold up. But then you get here and you realize that this is work that turns into policy, that turns into language, that turns into love, that turns into a lot of different things at the end of the day. And I've been called all kind of things, from abrasive, aggressive, angry, mean. I haven't been called compassionate. I haven't been called caring. I haven't been called assertive. But that comes with the territory. And I'm going to continue to be all of the latter pieces of what I said, of how I use my influence to work through the challenges that have been placed within Ward 7. It's a beautiful place to be a part of, and I'm grateful because I grew up in this community, went to school there, I worked there, been a part of it all of my life. So now to be in the lens of where I can actually be a part of what change looks like, I am forever grateful for that. Forever grateful, because you don't know your path, but of course, the Lord orders our steps and He tells us where to go. And had you told me this would be my path 10 years ago, I'd say, you are crazy. I would never run for office. Why would I do that? And here I am going to another office. So I don't know if I'm crazier or if I really have some more work to do. And I know there is more work to do, so I'm grateful for that. To the mayor in his absence, you know, we've had some difficulties along the way. We started off wonderfully, and this has been work, you know, to ensure that your community is taken care of, and hard conversations that have to be made, and again, being omitted from some and still having to stand your ground in others, and even from our residents. There have been difficult conversations. As you heard, we just went through a zoning case today where it's difficult. It's hard to make those kind of decisions for your residents, especially in areas that you do not live, so you don't understand exactly their experience, but you know you represent them and want to make sure you're doing the right thing for the people. It's been an honor. I'm grateful for the next journey, and I look forward to continuing the ways that I can advocate for Oklahoma City, because I don't think a lot of people have this type of relationship that I get to take to the state capitol. And I think I'm very grateful, and probably one of few who will have that type of experience. So this is a beautiful thing to transition to, and to continue those relationships, and also ensuring that our community is taken care of. So I also wanted to keep on the front of my mind those tornado victims that have been impacted by the weekend, and those who have been able to support our residents in Oklahoma City. Thank you, and we should continue to do that. I know we had a couple of our, wanted to acknowledge a couple more of our pastors. It's just been a difficult time for our Black community as far as our leadership and pastors and servants passing away. We had Reverend Cheryl, Reverend Cesar, and Bishop Woody within the last few weeks. And I told you a few weeks ago, within the last couple months, we had Pastor Reed and others that have gone on, and Bishop Ponder. So and us to experience these things at this moment are difficult, but we know there is a plan for our community. And thank you for accepting my wild and crazy ideas. And we've been through a lot of things together, Ward 7, and I am forever grateful that you chose me once and chose me again to be a part of this great city and the fabric of what Oklahoma City is. So I wish nothing but the best for our city. I wish nothing but the best for all of those who are here. And I know, again, that this relationship it has not ended, because I'm gonna see y'all all the time anyway. I still got some projects and things I'm still trying to figure out how to support on the back end in ways that I can. But it has been an honor of a lifetime, again, to be here, and very grateful. And I just say thank you again for the opportunity to serve Ward 7 in Oklahoma City.
Thank you, Nikki. Our next agenda item is it's 13, which is citizens to be heard, and I think we have 2 citizens to be heard. Is that Randy? Rowdy Taylor? Randy Taylor? I'm sorry, my fault. Randy, would you please give us your full name and street address?
My name's Randy Taylor, 7801 South Anderson Road. I would ask for a little extra time from the timekeeper for a little bit of public information that may be valuable. The Oklahoma Baptist Foundation, Men's Foundation, has set up a mobile command center at the Choctaw Road Baptist Church. I believe it's a Reno and Choctaw Road. You can go on Channel 4. I think they had the story online. They have men, they have equipment, chainsaws, things that a lot of people may not have available to them. Equipment is a huge deal. They may be in Choctaw, but they're going to serve Choctaw, Hera, Oklahoma City East. So I would encourage people to, you can check the Oklahoma Men's Baptist Foundation, Oklahoma Baptist Foundation, or go on Channel 4, I believe it was, that I saw the story. I apologize, I was late. Item 9X was passed, and it talked about increasing the density. As I mentioned before, there are issues with roads and such out there. 2 or 3 months ago, I turned in a complaint. I turned in several complaints, and the vice mayor said stay on point when I was talking about these different complaints. That was part of my point. The roads out there, the city services out there have not kept pace with the development, and yet you keep adding more and more development. You passed 9X. Whenever they redid Choctaw Road, they did a $36,000 change order because it washed out a gentleman's driveway. Well, that water just doesn't stop there. I've got property downstream, and so has a neighbor, and they have increased the construction out there. Quinn Glale, 42 acres, Huntington, 80 acres, Ashfield, 240 acres. All that water's washed downstream. That water washes down to my neighbor's driveway, and he has had to, out of his own pocket, not a $36,000 like they did for this old gentleman, out of his own pocket, he has had to go in there and modify his driveway. That backs up water on my property, which is 600 feet north. It causes water to go around the drainage system, which my brother owns on the south side. This gentleman has spent thousands and thousands of dollars.
30 seconds, please.
Where does it end? This is what we need to look at. Why should this gentleman get $36,000 to redo his? They can't even go down there and dig a hole and put in 3 or 4 extra culverts down there to handle the water and keep it within the channel. Mr. Stone, congratulations. Welcome to the 41 Club, which I'm also a member of. Congratulations or condolences. And I'd like to find some time. I have some ideas I'd like to discuss to put some math to the lot sizes. Thank you for your time.
Just so you know, just looking down, making sure I have your contact info, which I do with your address. I'll reach out to you probably early part of next week, and we'll set up a time to get together out there.
Okay.
Okay?
Like I said, I have plans to put some math, some engineering to this instead of just back and forth with City Council like we've been doing.
Good.
At least on the water supply issue.
Right.
Thank you for your time, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Todd, and thank you, Mr. Taylor. Next, we have Michael C. Washington.
Thank you so much, y'all. Let me begin by saying Miss Nikki Nice, you will definitely be missed. And I'm not just saying to be joking, I'm serious. Because this is the only lady I know other than my mother can make me babble at times and not really say the words I want to say. So I'll give you that edge. No, seriously, no, really. It's been a great ride. I mean, like I said, again, we didn't always have our agreements, disagreements, but that's part of life. You don't hate a person because they don't vote like you. You don't hate a person because I eat potato chips or you may eat popcorn. And I'm not just saying it in no joking manner. I'm saying to this, y'all, this is what, again, I think a word you use to steal and piggyback from, this is what democracy looks like. My motto in my organization is change your world and your world will change around you. You get to see a slight serious side of me that you normally don't see, calm, cool, collective, but at the same time, y'all know this is the year. We're getting ready to decide a new president and various other state and city government positions. No matter who wins, we're still going to be visited by racism, job unemployment, children being abused, lack of security in areas or places that we need, mental illness, children in our school being assaulted. So what do we do to get past those dilemmas? It certainly isn't an easy task. But you can bet one thing, Michael's going to keep doing his part, and I think all of you know by now, no matter what you think of him, he's going to be there. I don't have to know you. If it's done being wrong, here I come. Bottom line. You know why I was taught to do that by my mother, great, beautiful, elderly lady up in the 80s, way up there. But guess what? I'm always, boy, do this, bop. I didn't always do the right decision about what she taught me, but I did do one thing. I brought those principles and values of what I was taught at home with the little we had, and as you can see, giving it back today as I do. Not necessarily what I want to do, but what God has guided me to do. That's right. You're looking at a guy here who sincerely have a love for all humanity. And at the same time, if I'm wrong, get me, but don't get me for something I'm totally not responsible for or guilty of. Let me say one thing I'm not afraid to say. I've got 35 seconds. These people actually, I want everybody to hear this, had me accused wrongfully of
30 seconds.
Abuse of an elderly. Y'all look at this face again, will you? You talking about hurting here. I don't allow anybody to be hurt in my eyes. As a matter of fact, you couldn't even do your parent love on a child wrong in my face. And you're going to use that fragrant stuff. I'm still out here. You know why? Because God knows who I am. You can't send me to prison or jail for something I didn't do. Get me for something right. Don't try to get me out because you want to quiet my voice. Because God of all sees it all. I want to thank everybody for this opportunity. Now, go out and vote the way your conscience tells you to. And guess what? Know that God is on your side. In closing, I might try to run for that city council seat now.
Amy, anyone else signed up for today? We are at that point where we adjourn. Thank you, everyone.